Hi guys, I welcome you all to the next lecture in our anthropology series. So we were doing 9.4 and today we are going to cover other that are mentioned in the syllabus. So let's get on with it. This was 2. We had already done the Klinefelter syndrome yesterday. So today we are going to do Turner syndrome, super female, super male, all of that. Okay? So let's start with it. So Turner syndrome, in this was basically given, or this idea was described by Dr. Henry Turner, and it is a monosomic condition. So we are going to follow the same pattern. This is a monosomic condition. That means there is only one X. So see, okay, first let us understand that what we are trying to do. We are basically studying the changes in the sex chromosomes, right, or the 23rd pair, right. So we have 22 autosomal pairs. We are not talking about that. That means that those 44 chromosomes we are not talking about, and we are not touching the last pair, that is the 23rd pair, which is either an XX or an XY. We are studying this. So abhi isme bhi, in this also we are studying the numerical changes, right, numerical changes. So we are not talking about the structural changes, right. Abhi bhi hum structural changes ki baat nahi kare, we are talking about the numerical changes. Okay, so Klinefelter syndrome, what was the karyotype? You must always remember the karyotype, because it's udhar se you will understand a lot about it. So it was a trisomy, and it is 44 autosomal plus trisomy in the sex chromosome, and it was XXY. So predominantly Klinefelter male, it happens to males because they have an extra copy of chromosome X. So this we had done. Now today we are doing Turner syndrome, that is first. So isme in Klinefelter syndrome we have total 47 instead of 46. So I'll just write that also. Instead of 46 we have 47. Now comes the Turner syndrome. Now Turner syndrome, same 44 autosomal, that we are not going to इसको हमने अभी नहीं छेड़ना है, ठीक है. अभी हम we are not studying autosomal. In Turner syndrome it is X0. So that means there is only one copy of X. So that means these are predominantly females, ठीक है. Because see, if you have to be male, then you have to have the Y chromosome, ठीक है. When you don't have the Y chromosome, that determines the female gender. So Y means male. So when you don't have any either Y or X, it makes you a female. But of course, for a female, for a healthy female, you should have 2X, right. So here they have only 1X. Now I'll talk to you about inactivated genes also today. We have to do a lot today, so don't worry about that. What is it going to be, I'll tell you. So Turner syndrome में क्या है? It is X0. So predominantly females have this problem, and they have a monosomy. For example, in Klinefelter there was trisomy. Here it is monosomy, and there is only one. So they have only 45. For the normal 46, they have only 45. Okay. So we understood this. Now again, this has happened because of the non-disjunction of the X chromosome during the oogenesis we had studied. Okay, let me show you that again. So what happens is, there is an XX, there is an XY, they are going to fertilize. Okay? During oogenesis what happens? Both the X come one side and there is a 0 on the other side, and male ka it is normal X and Y. Okay? So this scenario, if this happens, this will create the Turner syndrome. Okay? This will create Turner syndrome, and this happens due to the non-disjunction. That means they did not separate during the oogenesis. Okay, they did not separate. That is why at one place there was a 0. Okay, so X0 condition is Turner syndrome. Now what are the symptoms? The symptoms are mental retardation. I'll show you the pictures also, don't worry about that. Okay, so don't worry about, I'll show you the pictures also. Now today, okay, so they have mental retardation, they have short height, rudimentary ovaries, poorly developed sexual organs, puffy hands and feet. Now see, let's look at a female with a Turner syndrome. ठीक है? Now yeah, see, first of all she has a short stature. ठीक है? So little bit here and there you need to remember थोड़ा सा information, and they have these kind of a brown spots on the body. So these are very, see, mental retardation or not, see, rudimentary ovaries or rudimentary testicular, you know, these are the things that somewhere there are going to be similar also, but there are certain characteristics. For example, Turner syndrome में brown spots होते हैं on the body. So you should remember it, because if you write about this जैसे brown spots, so it will give you maybe an extra half a mark, right? Because the common ones everybody is going to write, but if you write these distinguishing ones na, in each of the syndrome, so that is why you need to remember one or two that is distinguishing, right? Then they have a webbed neck, so they have a fold on the extra skin on the neck, so that is called webbed neck. So you can remember they have short stature, they have these brown spots on the body, they have these webbed neck or fold on the skin. ठीक है? Then they have poor breast development. ठीक है? They have poor breast development, they have elbow deformities. ठीक है? Rudimentary ovaries, that means sexually they'll be more of, you can say, sterility ज़्यादा रहेगी. Then there will be no menstruation. Okay, then it's written the brown spots here. Then puffy hands and feet are there. Okay, so the hands and feet are little stocky, you can say. ठीक है? Then widely spaced nipples in the breast. Okay, then all these are the certain characteristic symptoms of Turner syndrome that you can see. Now let's go back to the karyotype. This is the normal karyotype. I show you every day because I want you to just keep on remembering it. And this is the karyotype of a Turner syndrome. So there it should have been a Y with it, which is like missing. This Y is missing. So the one I made it in blue is the missing one, right? Okay. So then this syndrome occurs in about 1 in 2500 females. Now you might find somewhere 1 in 2000. So do not worry. At many places this frequency would change here and there little bit. So you can just remember 1, but ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि 1 in 2000 and you are writing 1 in 10,000. That will be a lot of you know, variation. So you need to be near to the common figure, right? You can't deviate so much, but थोड़ा बहुत here and there will go. ठीक है? So we have talked about the webbed neck. We have talked about they have cardiovascular problems, urinary disorders, reproductive defects, and shield-like chest. That means females have breast, but that breast development is not there. So, acha. Now how to diagnose that they have this problem? So you can do it with the absence of the bar bodies. Now what is this concept of bar bodies? I'll just explain you. You need to understand this, what happens. See, when you have basically, you are either a female or a male. So basically in the most of the genes are encoded on the sex-linked genes are encoded on the X. For example, how your skeletal muscles are going to be, ठीक है, how your nervous system is going to work, ठीक है, all these are certain kind of genes that are encoded upon the X gene, ठीक है, X chromosome. So now what happens is that when the males have only one X, that means all these important bodily functions, for example nervous system, digestive system, skeletal, can be present at only one chromosome, and the person could be healthy, right? Because the Y chromosome has other characters, the male characters. For example, they'll have more beard, ठीक है, their voice will become little deep, ठीक है, then their reproductive functioning of the body, these are the genes that are encoded on the Y, and no very major bodily functions, those are encoded on the X gene. That means even if there is a female, only one X is fine for the functioning of the body, right? Because as it is male में भी तो there is only one X, and their skeletal nervous system, everything is working, right? So one X is fine. So when females have two X, then that means there could be a conflict. There could be a conflict of both X's. For example, what if one X has different mutation than the other? That means they have slight differences. So there could be clash and conflicts there, right? So in that, females' bodies have a mechanism of inactivation. That means for them also, at one time only one X genes are working and the other X is inactivated, because if it is active like the other one, then there are going to be clashes, ठीक है ना? So in the females also one X is working and the other one is inactivated. So this inactivated becomes like it is bar bodies. It is called bar bodies, and these inactive, one X is normal and the other one becomes the bar bodies. That means they are inactivated, ठीक है? So every female should have one normal X and other should be like bar bodies. But what happens in Turner syndrome, when there is absence of bar bodies, you can diagnose that the person is having Turner syndrome. That means एक X तो है which is working, the other one which should have been inactivated, that is not there, which is the absence of bar bodies in this case. So you understand what is the concept of bar bodies. So that is why now you can say that this disease is not that fatal, because as I already told you that even all the genes, ठीक है, are encoded on the X. Most of the genes are encoded on the X, and only one at a time is working in the females also. So for that purpose only, the Turner syndrome is not that fatal, and with little bit of you can say, not little bit, but with treatment, the females can lead a very normal life, ठीक है? For example, if they are short stature, so they could be given growth hormone, ठीक है, for their height to grow. Then they could be given progesterone and estrogen, they are the female hormones, ठीक है? So for other development of the sexual organs, like that. They may be sterile, but they can use other techniques like the IVF to conceive and have a baby. So that means Turner syndrome may you can lead a very normal life, and you understand the concept of bar bodies also. That is why, because एक ही X at a time is functioning in the body. That is why it is not that fatal a disease. And again, you should know that any woman who's conceiving after the age of 35 is more likely to have these kind of problems, but not in the case of Turner syndrome, okay? Because Turner syndrome may it's not like seen that way, okay? Now comes the next one, which is the super male, okay, not the super male, but the super female, okay? Now I did not find very like cartoonish or animated pictures for super female and super male, and I didn't want to put the original pictures of any people. So you can, if you want to see, and because of visual memory it creates in your mind, so you can just Google it and see the pictures. I did not put them, okay? So the same way, super females हो गई, they have the karyotype of XXX or XXXX, like that it happens, ठीक है? So this happens mostly 1 in 1200, and it is also known as polysemy of X chromosome. That means more than 2X in the female. That is why they are called super females. Now what is the normal karyotype? Normal karyotype of humans should have been 44A, and females we are talking about, so it should have been 44A and XX. So that makes it 46. But super female की case में what is the karyotype? It is 44A plus XXX, or it could be more X. So there is a trisomy, or you can say polysomy here. ठीक है? So you will write it like 47 instead of 46. ठीक है? तो ये karyotype you understood. Now again it occurs during the non-disjunction of the X chromosome during the oogenesis, and here also there are poorly developed sexual characters. ठीक है? There is mental retardation, all of that. ठीक है? Then if we have to write some other features of a super female, you can say there is impaired IQ. So IQ is impaired. That means there is little bit of IQ is not normal, below normal होता है. Poor breast development. ठीक है? Breast development is poor. Then hypotonia. Hypotonia is your muscles में, ठीक है ना, your muscles are weak. Okay. Then comes your short stature. Okay. Then they have congenital malformations. That means जो थोड़ा heart है, ठीक है, there could be chances that they have little congenital malformation. ठीक है? So and they can also have the epicentric fold on the eye. अभी epicentric fold is like, जैसे आपने देखा होगा ना, the Mongolian eyes or the Chinese eyes, they have a little extra skin on the eyes, right? So that is called the epicentric fold. So these are certain characters that are there in a super female also, and you can diagnose there is super female kind of a problem in a person with the imbalance of estrogen and progesterone in the body, the female hormones, and amniocentesis and chorionic villi sampling. Now yesterday I mentioned very briefly about what is amniocentesis, and there I made a mistake. By mistake I said they inject the fluid. I'm so sorry, they don't inject the fluid, they take out the fluid. Okay, so please make a correction there. I by mistake said that. So what happens in amniocentesis also, you have to basically diagnose if somebody has a problem, right? So what you do when a female is pregnant, ठीक है? So you take some amniotic fluid from the female's womb, okay, and then you check whether it has certain that kind of a problem. So that is amniocentesis, and then there is chorionic villi sampling also. So this is also a cell, you can say, when a lady is pregnant, you can take out the fluid from the body or anything like that. Basically you have to see the cells, right? And in those cells, because every cell has the chromosomes, right? In the nucleus of every cell there are chromosomes, and it has all the genetic information, right? So you have to take out those cells and you have to check in the chromosomes whether there is any problem like that. So that is how the diagnosis happens. So you don't need to go very deeply into it. This much is fine, this much information is fine, because nobody is going to ask you about on super female. Okay, so if it will come as a sub part of a maybe sex aberration pe question hoga, and you will write about super female thoda sa, right? So this much information is good. Okay, now comes super male. Same, it would be in super female it was XXX. So in super male it would be XY, because XY normal hai, XYY. ठीक है? So you understand, it is also known as Jacob syndrome, and this super male syndrome has been correlated with high criminal bent of mind. Now this is something very intriguing and very interesting, because क्या होता है, mostly when this kind of a problem, super male syndrome, was studied by the people, they saw that many a times the super males, they had a slightly higher criminal bent of mind. So a lot of studies were done on that, ठीक है, mostly in the prisons, ठीक है, और एनी पर्सन हु हैज़ डन एनी क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी, उन पे चेकिंग करके देखते थे कि वेदर दे वर सुपर मेल्स और नॉर्मली, ठीक है, एंड मेनी केसेस दे वर सुपर मेल्स, बट दिस थ्योरी इज लाइक रिफ्यूटेड ओनली कि it is not necessary, there is no genes in the body that can increase the aggressiveness in your personality or make you a criminal person, ठीक है. So even though it is this is correlated with a high criminal bent of mind, but it is a very, you can say, extreme viewpoint, ठीक है. This is first thing. And then it is again correlated with aggressive antisocial behavior. That means people are very aggressive when they have an extra copy of Y. This is believed, ठीक है. Then there is mental retardation. People are generally tall heighted, and there is problem of sterility and impaired IQ. इनका भी impaired IQ रहता है थोड़ा सा, ठीक है. So that means subnormal IQ is there, ठीक है. So it happens because of the abnormal sperm and non-disjunction of the Y chromosome. So now this time what is happening? Y chromosome is not able to properly there is non-disjunction, and there is two abnormal sperms that fertilize with one egg. Okay, so what is happening? Two abnormal sperms fertilizing with one egg, ठीक है. So this is how XYY happens. Normal में क्या होना था? In normal karyotype it should have been 44 autosomal plus XY, but in this case it is 44 autosomal plus XYY, so it makes it 47 instead of 46. So I hope you have understood. Tomorrow we are going to start with our next topic, and I hope you liked the lecture. If you did, guys, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.